so much, and thank you, Boca de Oro, for inviting Vala here today and being a part of your festival. We are so excited to be here. I wanted to present today a couple of things about our organization and as well as our first ever Viet Book Fest. But my name is Christine Tran. I am the Managing Director of the Vietnamese Arts and Letters Association. Our mission is to connect and enrich communities through Vietnamese arts and culture. And why that's relevant, I guess, to this festival is that we are an organization that's been here for 30 years in Orange County. And we do focus a lot on Vietnamese Americans, especially in Orange County. It is the largest home to Vietnamese folks of the diaspora in the United States. It is also the county's largest ethnic group and fastest growing population. And Vietnamese Americans own about 15,000 businesses in Orange County and have a lot of elected positions in Orange County. For our history, we started in 1991 by a group of Vietnamese American journalists, artists, and community members who were the first generation and wave of artists from Vietnam here in America. And they realized that there wasn't a space for them to really uplift our artists and our voices. And so they decided to find this organization and create that space themselves. We often highlight diverse stories and voices of Vietnamese experience so that other folks don't do it for us. Most people always think, when they think Vietnamese, they think of the Vietnam War, but there is more nuance and persona to us than just that aspect. Here, actually, we had held a poetry circle a long time ago, I believe about 10 years ago, featuring Bao Phi, who is a famous spoken word artist and also one of the authors from Viet Book Fest. This was about 10 years ago, I believe. We also produce innovative and artistic programs that engage different generations, from older generations to younger generations and different cultures. And Vala also provides a platform that facilitates artistic expression and visibility for artists. And here we show Viet Film Fest, which is one of our biggest programs where we uplift Vietnamese voices in cinema. And whether they're an actor or a filmmaker, you will see them here at this film festival that is very carefully curated by a group of folks. But I'm here today to really talk about Viet Book Fest, which was launched last year. We were very lucky in 2020 to have this event moderated by the amazing Maya Lea Espiritu of My Storybook. If you haven't checked her out, please follow her. She's amazing, super engaging. She actually did all of the moderation for all 6 events. And she has a TikTok and an Instagram and a Facebook where she features children's books every week. She works with, I believe, 2nd and 3rd graders. And she covers so many different types of children's books. But to give you some context about Viet Book Fest and how it came about, in 2019, our board decided that it's been a while since we lived out the literature part of our namesake. And so we wanted to put together a book festival event for the community, and everything was great and in the works as far as planning goes. We were going to partner with the Garden Grove Public Library, and what happened was that at that time everything was right in the middle of the works, and suddenly COVID hit us in March of 2020. And so we were at a point in time where we really had to consider whether or not we would continue with the festival. And luckily, in 2020, we also received a Hot Fellow from UCI. And the Hot Fellow really helped us propel this program. So shout out to Anat, if you're listening. Anat, thank you so much for all the work that you put in for Viet Book Fest in 2020. We were able to launch this event and reimagine it in a virtual format. And so these were the different books and stories that we decided to showcase. And again, for our first inaugural book festival, we decided to focus on the genre of children's books. And we're really happy to see that there are a lot of Vietnamese authors out there featuring children's books. One of the first books that we decided to show was Vietnamese children's favorite stories by Jung Thi Minh Phuc. And this is a great book. She's also an author from Minnesota. She's actually a librarian by trade, and she realized that there was no books out there to really capture, our folk stories, the folk stories that we grew up with. So this book really captures that. She did a reading with us, and we had a wonderful Q&A, and the illustrators actually shared a couple of coloring pages for our participants to be able to use and color during the event. The second author that we actually featured was Min Lê, and it's amazing to see Green Lantern Legacy as DC Comics' first Vietnamese American superhero. This story moved me to tears. There was a grandma involved, and it was just really, really amazing to see my stories and Vietnamese representation in DC Comics. We also showed a reading of Drawn Together, which is another book that he wrote about, grandfather and a grandson trying to communicate even though they didn't share the same language. So that was an amazing session there. And then we also had Bao Phi, who I spoke about earlier, and he featured his book called My Footprints, which was written by himself and illustrated by Tran. And this book was a very sweet book about a girl and her two moms, and how she felt out of place, but how she followed her footprints back to what made her feel secure. We actually featured a bit of Bao Phi doing his spoken word part. He was kind enough to share his poem, which is in the chat box for you guys, called You Bring Out the Vietnamese in Me, which was inspired by Sandra Cisneros' You Bring Out the Mexican in Me. And we used that prompt and allowed for the kids in our event to get a chance to write their own little poem. So right here on the left, we actually have a prompt from Vin, where he says, you bring out the Viet in me, the yummy noodles I love, the sniffy kisses I get from my family. And it was just a sweet event where a bunch of kids got together and were able to write a little bit of poetry and also get inspired by this author sharing, his inspirations for the book. And I'm gonna give a quick clip right here so that you guys can see how engaging Maya is, and how amazing she is when she gets to introduce our authors. Oh, I'm so sorry about it. There's no audio, so let me share the audio for you guys.
With us today, he's going to be joining us for a live Q&A session after the read aloud. So as you're listening to this story, get your questions ready, jot them down, be prepared to ask any questions you have of our author today. And a little bit more about his accomplishments before starting our read aloud. Bao Phi is a Vietnamese American poet. He's a children's book author, art administrator, and a father. His first children's book, A Different Pond, received 6-starred reviews and won multiple awards, including a Caldecott Honor, an Ezra Jack Keats Honor, Asian Pacific American Librarians Association Award for Best Picture Book, the Minnesota Book Award for Picture Books, and the Charlotte Zolotow Award for Excellence in Children's Book Writing. It made several Best Books of the Year lists, including Publishers Weekly, Kirkus Reviews, Booklist, the Boston Globe, the Washington Post, and and self-awareness. His second children's book, My Footprints, was released by Capstone in 2019, and that is the one we are going to be reading today.
And so I also wanted to share the part where our audience gets to interact with him. So we're going to shoot right forward to the poem piece of
After
the
he reads the poem, my friends, there will be an opportunity for you to be a spoken word artist and a poet and get to fill in a mini poem template and share about you. So keep your eyes on the screen. You'll see a little template show up after we hear our excerpt from the poem, and you'll get a chance to be poets yourself. All right, so if you could share with us about what You Bring Out the Vietnamese in Me is all about and share with us a short excerpt, that would be great.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so I wrote that poem in my mid-20s, so that was like 20 years ago. Yeah, kids, your Uncle Bao's pretty old. And I had originally written it because I want, first of all, I have to pay respect to Sandra Cisneros, who wrote a legendary poem called "You Bring Out the Mexican in Me," and that inspired me. And I was kind of like, is what would it be like if I wrote one about being Vietnamese, right? And so that's really why I wrote it, just kind of as an experiment. And like one thing that I thought about is, I wanted it to be a celebration, but I also wanted it to be kind of contradictory and difficult and challenging. I didn't want it to be a poem that was like, oh, this is how to be a proud Vietnamese person. You know what I mean? I didn't want it to be like, I don't know what you would call it, a respectability politic poem. I wanted it to be celebratory, but celebrate the complexity, the contradictions, the nuances of what it means to be a Vietnamese person. So, even though it has a rah rah spirit, hopefully it's a little bit challenging and a little bit, uh, more complicated than that. And I'll just read just a tiny bit of it because you all have been so good about listening already. I don't want to take up too much of your time here. Um, You bring out the Vietnamese in me, the waiting fireball, the suntanned angel on a rice terrace, the black haired miracle. You bring out the Vietnamese in me, the salted yellow boat child and military brat on an airplane in me, the tracer bullet eyed Buddhist who gets presents on Christmas in me. And then it goes on and on and on because as a poet, I'm a very long-winded individual. So it just goes on and on and on and on. But that's a little bit of it.
All right. Thank you for sharing that with us.
And so that was a lovely clip of that moment that we captured. And after that, the kids also got to share a lot of that together with us. Yeah, it was just amazing to be able to have him there and share and inspire these kids to be future authors and poets. And so the next couple books that we did actually is the Chicken of the Sea, which is amazing. And we had Viet Thanh, the Pulitzer Prize winner, with us and his son. They co-wrote the book together. And then this book was also illustrated by Thi Bui and her son Hien. And so Thi Bui also is an author of a book called The Best We Can Do, which we hope to feature in this year's festival, talking about more of a young authors kind of genre. And so I also wanted to share the part where, why the author and how they came up with ideas and how they came up with Chicken of the Sea. So here we go. Let's hope that this shares nicely with the sound.
To start with some questions for our younger author and illustrator first, and then we have some for all four authors and illustrators. And again, we'll also be taking questions from the audience. So I see some friends have already started typing some out. Okay. Well, let's start with Ellison, if you don't mind answering a few questions for us. Ellison, thank you for imagining such a fun and exciting story. I think we're all wondering, how did you think up of this story? How did you pick chickens as the main character? Could you share a little bit about that for us?
I like chickens and I like pirates.
Excellent. That makes perfect sense that they're your two main characters. Thank you, Ellison. And I loved the kind ending where the dog knight welcomes everyone into his castle. Why did you pick that ending for your book? That was a really nice ending.
I like parties too.
So that was a good way to end, right? So you could all have a party, and it's no fun to have a party if you're all angry with each other. You always need a party with good friends. Thank you, Ellison. I also saw that you commented, Ellison, that you are excited for Halloween. Do you have your Halloween costume picked out already? What is it?
Batman.
Batman. Oh my gosh, that is a great choice. Awesome. Maybe if you come to next week's Halloween party, you can show us your costume. That'd be fun. All right, we also have some questions for our illustrator, Hing. So if you don't, so Hing, what was your favorite part about illustrating this book, and what was something that was difficult about illustrating the book?
I think my favorite part about illustrating the book was like seeing the process of it, I guess, or like the behind the scenes, because I'd never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the hardest part was, I think, like not judging myself too much on like the starter drawings, because I didn't really like them very much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, they turned out great. So all the edits and everything and all the colors were fantastic. So did you get to draw the characters and illustrations however you wanted, or did you and Ellison and Viet all work together to talk about how they should look like? Or what was that process like?
I made like, I just drew some stuff to start out with and then sent it, and like we collaborated and we talked it out to like choose like how things would look.
Okay, that makes sense. It's a whole collaboration process. Similar to that, Austin and Avery had a question that maybe you can answer for us. How did you pick the clothes for the chicken?
I thought of sailors, like striped shirts. That's pretty much it.
That makes sense. It did look like pirate sailor outfits. Okay. All right, thank you. And then some questions for the adult authors and illustrators too. And so you can feel free to piggyback off each other, talk together for T and Vic. But I think we're all very interested in what the collaboration process was like, working together as parent and child. So if maybe Vic and Ellison want to answer first, and then T and Hing can answer next. All right, so Vic and Ellison, what was it like writing a book together? So Ellison, you can share first. What parts did you do maybe on your own, or what parts did you and Dad do together, or did you do them all together?
I like working together.
How did it come about? Because we didn't work together at the beginning. How did it happen?
I invented it myself.
You invented it yourself? Do you remember where you did that?
San Jose, when I was 4 years old.
Well, outside of San Jose at a place called the Jurassic Resident Artist Colony.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that? It's up in the woods in the mountains above Palo Alto. And there was an art colony up there. And I helped to organize a Vietnamese American group of artists to go there, including T and Bao Phi, who you've had here on the show. And Ellison was actually a big fan of their book, A Different Pond. And so he was so excited, to go to the art colony with us and spend some days there and get to meet T and Bao. And he was so inspired by all the intellectual, artistic excitement there that he drew and wrote a comic book called Chicken of the Sea. My only function was to write down his words. But otherwise, all the pictures and the entire story were his. And what happened was I just took pictures, put it on Facebook, and lo and behold, there was an editor in my Facebook circle who said, "Is this a real book? Can we publish this?" And I'm always looking for a way to try to, make some money to pay for him because he's very expensive. And so I said, "Yes, of course you can have this book." And that's the beginning of Chicken of the Sea.
All right. Wow. So, Ellison, you just created that all on your own. It sounds like you had a great inspirational environment to create this story. And then Viet was very supportive and helping share it with everyone and get it out there. And of course, very proud of it. So you said he came up with all the text himself. Did you want to add anything else from your point of view of what it was like working with Ellison to get the final story out?
Well, as you can see, it's always fun to work with Ellison. He's always a ball of energy and ideas and excitement and everything. I mean, literally, I could never have come up with Chicken of the Sea on my own. I don't do stuff like that. So what happened was we had a 6-page comic book, and Chicken of the Sea that I think what we have eventually is 32 pages. So we needed someone to do the artwork on it, because as great as Ellison's illustrations are, they're not as great as T's. So I asked T to help us out, and she said, well, T can tell this part of the story, but she brought on Hien as well. And then my job after that was to take Ellison's original story and just add some more words to it. That took a few days to do that, and it's actually kind of challenging to write a children's book because with books like this is like 400 pages long, thousands and thousands of words. Chicken of the Sea is more like poetry, that's maybe a couple hundred words. So just taking Ellison's story arc, which is all his, and just filling in some of the words there, that was my job basically. But every single idea in the book is actually Ellison's.
Wow, that is so great to hear how that process all comes together.
And so that was the lovely Viet Nguyen and his son speaking on Chicken of the Sea. We were so excited to have them with us and share their process. And it was just really inspiring to be around a Pulitzer Prize winner, but not only that, getting to know the family and getting to know what the process is like to make a children's book. So that was definitely a huge part of the festival in general. I also wanted to share this part of let's see, can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah, and so I just wanted to talk about the impact of Viet Book Fest. This was our first virtual event. We were really excited to see that we were able to expand our programming beyond Orange County and reached families from all across the United States. Here we have a quote from Tao in Connecticut, and how she explains how it was so engaging and fun for her kids to be around a Vietnamese community because she doesn't have one from where she is. And so we were really thankful to have that sort of impact on the community. But beyond that, we also had 7,700 Facebook views on all of the videos. So if you wanted to check out more of about any of the authors or any of the books that we've shared, you can check it out on our Facebook. Also, we were able to sell tickets, about 220 tickets, and that went to whole families. So I think the average family had about two children. So the math there is great. We had some great community partners who are also here as a part of Boca de Oro, like Bowers Museum and other organizations as well. So it was overall a really, really great event, and we hope to do it again this year. Again, I just wanted to talk about some of our other programs to look forward to. Viet Film Fest is our biggest program where we really center and uplift Vietnamese cinema and Vietnamese filmmakers. We have an annual attendance of over 5,000. This year is really exciting because we get to also do Viet Film Fest in a virtual format due to COVID. And so in many ways, we get to reach a broader audience as well in this case. We also host free screenings for students and senior citizens. Usually there is a special community day where we offer a whole list of shorts for the community to get access to. And here are some pics from past events. Unfortunately, this year we might not be inside a movie theater, but we also might be able to do it at a drive-in theater. So we are really excited to see how that turns out this year. Another youth program that we have is Youth in Motion, where we help high school students figure out the basics of filmmaking, and they produce their own film, usually a short film from around 5 minutes to 20 minutes, and those films are showcased at Viet Film Fest every year. We also do a few screenings for the city of Santa Ana as well. This year, we're not sure if we're going to do Youth in Motion yet due to COVID restrictions, but we definitely will bring it back, hopefully in 2022. And these are past participants from different Youth in Motion cohorts. We also have a program called Gallery Beyond Walls, and usually this is an exhibition that engages the community in the arts and helps facilitate dialogues and really helps revitalize marginalized communities and gives opportunity to the youth to really come and tell and share their stories and express it in a form of art. So I actually was very lucky to be a part of the Illuminated Recipes project. And this is an exhibition where we brought a cohort of about 12 students, and they learned 3 mediums of taking oral history, writing, and then photography and mixed media arts. At the end of this 12-week program, they actually have an exhibition where they showcase all of the artworks that they've made over the 3 months that they were with us. And then we also produced a cookbook, a community cookbook, where it records their stories and their recipes. But this was a free event for all the participants and for the community to join in, just to get access to exhibitions that speak more to our representation. And these are also different exhibitions that we've held over the years. We're also really lucky to have community partnerships, such as the one with City of Santa Ana and Boca de Oro. So thank you again for having us with you here today. And I think that's about it. Thank you so much for having us with you. And we hope to be here again next year and talk more about books and talk more about art and the community. Thank you so much.